In the last lesson, we followed steps 1 to 3 in our general strategy to generate discussion points for our essay regarding whether or not schools should be responsible for teaching ethical and social values. When we did that, we generated the following discussion points. In this lesson, we'll take these discussion points and write an essay defending our position. Now, as I mentioned in an earlier lesson, everyone should develop a template for each of the 2 essays in the AWA session. The template I'll suggest here is just one option, so feel free to create your own. Just keep in mind that all AWA essays should follow a basic approach. Begin by telling readers what you're going to say, then tell them what you want to say, and finally end your essay by reminding readers what you just told them. So here's one possible template. Your introductory paragraph can have the following elements. For the first sentence, paraphrase the issue to show that you understand the issue and its complexities. So an opening sentence might look like this. The issue of whether or not schools should be responsible for teaching ethical and social values is a contentious one. Now the remaining sentences in your introductory paragraph can state your position and summarize your reasons for taking this stance. Now later, each reason will be the subject of its own paragraph. So after our first sentence, we might write, while each side has its strengths and weaknesses, I believe that schools should be responsible for teaching values because the primary role of school is to prepare students for adult life. Furthermore, schools are best equipped to teach values, and many values can be presented in a neutral, open-ended manner. Great, the reader now knows exactly where this essay is headed. Next, you can devote one paragraph for each of your points, beginning with your best point. Each of these paragraphs can have the same structure. First, state your point, then elaborate on your point and/or provide an example, and most importantly, relate your point to your position. For example, for the first point about the school's role to prepare students, we might write, first, schools have a clear mandate to prepare students for adult life. In school, students learn how to read, write, and perform arithmetic because these are vital skills for functioning as an adult. Likewise, students study history so that they can learn from the past and participate in society. Values are just as important since they will ultimately have a significant effect on one's adult life and on society in general. For example, someone who regards stealing as acceptable will have a much different life from someone who regards stealing as unacceptable. Moreover, one's values regarding stealing will greatly affect society. So given the importance of values, schools have a responsibility to teach them. Now, once we have written 1 or 2 additional paragraphs focusing on our other points, we're ready to demonstrate that we have considered both sides of the issue. To do this, the opposing side paragraph can have the following structure. First, state the point for the other side. Then state your rebuttal. Then elaborate on the rebuttal and/or provide an example that supports the rebuttal. So we might write something like this. Some may argue that if schools were responsible for teaching values, then some teachers would impose their own beliefs on students. This point is flawed, since teachers can always impose their values regardless of whether or not schools are responsible for teaching values. Moreover, if teaching values became the domain of schools, then a formal curriculum would help prevent teachers from imposing their values, since teachers would then be given clear guidelines regarding the ways in which values must be taught. Now at this point, you can devote a second paragraph to another opposing point and rebuttal, or you can write the conclusion paragraph. The conclusion paragraph can have the following structure. First, briefly restate your points for your position, and then restate your position. So we might write something like, in conclusion, schools have an obligation to prepare students for adult life. They are best equipped to teach values, and they can present values in a neutral, all-inclusive manner. For these reasons, schools should be responsible for teaching ethical and social values. And that's pretty much it. To recap, it is important to develop a template for your issue essay before test day. If you can develop a strong template, then you need only generate some discussion points and simply plug them into your template. Now, one possible essay template can look like the one we just examined, or you can create your own. Just be sure to develop a template before test day. Now, on a final note, it's important to know that all possible prompts for the issue essay can be found on the MBA.com website or in the back of the official guide for GMAT review. So be sure to browse the issues and practice writing some essays.